Today on the workbench I have a Atlas Alco S2, and this is an older unit. It's one of the yellow box unit. Actually had a request to do one of these. So what we're going to put in this thing is a Loc Sound V5 Micro. So we've got that. We've got a TCS KA2, and then we've got a Scale Sound Systems speaker for this. So we're going to get all this tucked in this locomotive, and I'll put LEDs in the front and rear lights. Upgrade the couplers. Of course, you can see there's no couplers on this. But so to get this thing apart, basically all we got to do is pull the long hood off. Let me get out a knife here, and there's a little clip right in here in the front of this, and basically you just push in and that'll lift right off, and it'll pull off. So we've got that. We'll have to pull our cab off. I may have to study that for a second, because I think it's the same way. We'll have to pull the railings off, but we're going to have to pull this existing board out. Turn this around a little bit. And this does have an old open frame motor in it. So we'll see how this runs. But I do need to figure out how to get this cab off. Okay, let's go back to this. I want to pull all my handrails loose. And we can take, and there should be a little clip right there. There it is. And I just clip that side back down. Yep. It's kind of hard to do. Alright. You got to pry that up both sides at one time, and with little clips in there, and I'll show this to you in a second. But there's our locomotive without anything in it, and there are clips right here along the side. You wouldn't think that those would be hard to fool with, but man, they are. So those scratches will be covered. But we can go ahead and pull. Actually, I'll take and cut my track leads, or power pickups here. Cut them off. So there's that. Can unscrew this. and we have to remove the weight, so we're left with this. And it does run pretty smooth. So I think I'm going to take and I am going to lube this up just a little bit. Just put a little touch of oil back here on this bearing. In the same way up here on this one. I've worked on a lot of people's stuff, or their locomotives, and some people think that lubrication is the answer to everything. Well, I'm here to tell you that it is not. Too much lubrication causes a lot of trouble. It causes trouble with electrical pickup. If you use the wrong type of oil, which most people do, it starts eating the plastic and can ruin the gears. And of course, overall, it just makes a mess. I had one locomotive that I worked on, and I had to let it sit for about a week to let all the oil drip out of it. Or I had it sitting for about a week, and all the oil dripped out of it. And it's still dripping after a week. So, anyway, enough of that. The other thing we're going to have to do now, we're going to have to isolate this motor, because this is not DCC ready. So, to do that, we'll go back, we'll go underneath here. And when I say it's not DCC ready, let's look at this. How did this pick up? That was there. Of course, then we had our bulb. Trying to figure out, we're picking up our fireman's side over here on this line. It goes into that. This side, the engineer's side, is just for the light. So it's picking up the right side from the frame itself, picking up electric from the frame itself. So when we pull this off, the little screw there in the center, I think I got it all the way out. Yep. So our motor contact is sitting right there on top of the frame, and it's picking up the right hand side through the frame. So we have to eliminate that. And the way we'll do that, let me get that over here, show that again. This is the way this motor came out. This is the bottom. It sits right down on there like that. It's picking up, this bottom is getting its electricity from the frame itself. So we have to isolate all that, and the way I do that, we'll put a piece of Kapton tape in there. But the first thing I want to do is clean this off with some alcohol. Get that surface ready for the Kapton tape. That way we know we're free of oil, grease, anything like that. And then we'll have to solder a wire, pickup wire on that. And I want to get my tape out here. And I've got this wider tape. Cut us a piece. And I'll trim that off, what I've got over the side. I'll use that right there. Put that little extra piece right in there, and then we can set our motor back in. But I want to look at something first. I think I'm going to have to put tape up on the side here. Get my meter out and see if there is any continuity there. Okay, that's plastic. This is plastic down in here. So I believe we are all good. So I've got that paint scraped down there to the metal. Okay, so we're good to go there. Forgot to solder a wire down here. Alright, so I'll be back in a second. Alright, I've got a couple of pieces of wire here, and get this out of the way. We'll go ahead and I like to use a little bit of flux on everything. So there's that. Tin the tip of soldering iron. There's that. And then that's the bottom. I'm going to put a little bit of flux on that. We'll get that hot. I hate to leave that on there that long. I probably should have cleaned that off just a little. There we go. All right, that took solder. Just got to give it a second. That and a little more heat. We'll turn that down. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my orange here on the bottom. Actually, we'll clean that off just a little bit. Let's see, how do I want to run that? I'm going to kind of run it over here to the side, so that way I can run my wire right up that little hole right there. Or not the hole, but I'll show you here in a second how I want to run that. If I can get this to take. There we go. This way I can run that wire right up through there and be nice and tucked out of the way. So it is nice and warm. Get the drive shaft back in. There's one. Yeah. Slippery little booger. Yep. There we go. Well, it slipped out back here. All right, let's see if I can get that. Yep, come on. There we go. All right, there's our motor in with our bottom lead. Now we can go ahead and tin this one up. Okay. There we go. We're good with our leads now. So, ouch. All right, so I think we are good to go. Let's see if I've got a battery here. What kind of, I don't know if this battery's any good or not. Okay, so our wires are the right way. The orange is our positive. So, all right, now we're ready to move on. But I think for right now, that's all I'm going to do. All right, we're back. Of course, we got our motor back in, got our wires on for the motor. We've got our speaker here, it's ready. I just need to cut a couple of pieces of wire for it. Get out the decoder here. This is a, of course it's a Loke Sound V5 Micro, and it just has a generic sound loaded into it right now. So at some point we'll load the sound up in that. And let's see, what am I looking for? Well, I'm looking for an instruction booklet for the wiring. All right, so we've got that. And this is going to, let's see, our speaker will set right on top of that mount. So we'll have to wire it. It'll set in there kind of like that on its side, so there'll be plenty of clearance underneath there. But I'll have to put the wires on that first. This is going to mount right on top of this. So, and then we'll have our Keep Alive. I should have had all this stuff out. We'll have our Keep Alive on top. Of that. Down out of the way. That'll mount in here. And it probably will be visible. I may take and put something over top of that. I don't know. Paint it maybe, so we won't see that color. Anyway, let's go with our track pickups. I have plenty of wire here. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this little bit of heat shrink off of this board. And I think I'll go ahead and connect these things right to this board. Like the motor wires are orange and gray. I could solder them right to that pad. That might make for a little, of course if I do that, move this over here, because my wires would be so short. And actually I may have to turn that over and put it down. Let me see what kind of room we have, because I know these are tight. I think we'll have plenty of room. Yep. Well, I say that. Get a light out here. Look down into this thing. I think I'm just holding up on a wire. No, it is hitting. With that right there, I am hitting my decoder. am still hitting my decoder right there even. So I can't build that up any at all. I think actually I'm going to have to set that forward quite a ways so I can get over that plug there, and that can hang over top of the motor or the flywheel. So I won't be able to do what I wanted there. And then we'll have our speaker. It'll be right here. So, yeah, this thing is going to be, it's going to be kind of tight, but it'll fit. So I think I'm going to get this speaker ready, and then I'll mount it. That way I'll know where everything exactly will go. Down in here now. Okay, so get this out of the way. And this is just going to be a one speaker installation. So I will take, and I'm not going to need a lot of wire. I'll use a piece of black, and I'll get a piece of red out. And I know this red looks orange on camera, but it is red. Turn my soldering iron on. That out of the way. Okay. I'm going to strip these off. We'll get them ready to tin. There's that one. There's that one. Okay, now I want to attach them to this speaker, but first I am going to tin both of those. But before I do that, I'm going to use something to sit down on top of that, just in case I get wire stuck or something. Let's see. This one's nice and close in there. How am I going to have this sit? It's going to sit like that. So it'll all come out this side. Well, it can go out either side, but I think I'll run it around that side. So our positive wire will be right back here. Okay, like I say, I want to put something on that. Give it a little weight, because I'm going to be right over top of that magnet. And that's all it took, was just that little touch. To get that tinned. That other one, the other side, I got right now. There we go. All right. Now, there, and see, I almost got it, didn't I? More in my way than anything here. There. Okay, there's that one. And then our red is our positive. So, there's that. Got them coming off of the side. We're ready to stick that on there, but first get out my alcohol. That'll get rid of our grease, if we have any. I think I will be able to, I'll be able to run those pickup wires right over top. And JT included a piece of tape on this one for me. This is Duct brand double-sided tape. It's carpet tape. Make sure we're not hitting anything. So there's that. Get our decoder back out. And I'm going to have enough room to set that decoder right there. That way we'll be over top of our flywheel, we'll be behind our speaker. We should be good to go. I wish I could turn it around this way, but there's not enough room underneath. So, okay. I'm going to figure out which one's my speaker wires on this. Red and black's the track pickups. What's this other side? These are my lighting functions. The only lighting functions I am going to use, the two browns are speakers, should be. Yes, two brown are speakers. Red and black are track. Blue is the common. So I won't need this green or the purple here on the bottom. They're just extra lighting functions. So I am going to trim those off. Purple and green. All this will have is the front light and the rear light. Nothing special. So common and speakers. I really don't even, I probably have enough to run wire up on top. But I don't want to have a lot of extra wire there. Yellow is the rear, white is the front, and then my black and my red. Okay, get a piece of double-sided tape. We'll clean the motor off here. That way it'll give us a grease-free surface. That. Nope. Almost forgot to do. Yeah. Clean that. I'm going to pull the sticker off of the back of this so I can clean that. Okay. there's our decoder, and now we can start wiring this thing up. So let's start with, might as well start with the track pickups. Or maybe we can do something a little easier here. Start with our motor pickups, just to get some stuff out of the way. Got that there. Got that there. And that is a red wire, not an orange wire. The orange wire is what I wanted. Kick some of that out of the way. There's that. There's that. Now I need my gray. There's the gray. And that one I won't even have to use that piece. I'll take that off. So now we can put some flux on these. And I'll have to get out some heat shrink. Tape away. And all those tinned. Hate to put too much heat on that right there. Ends up melting the plastic under the nut in it before it does anything else. Of course, if I had a bigger tip on this, that might help a little bit. Turn my soldering gun back down. We'll cut a piece of heat shrink. go. So there's our motor hooked up. There's our heat shrink. I'll probably take and put a drop of glue on that right there, just to keep that wire down. Actually, I may not have to. There we go. That'll keep that wire up and out of the way. Of course, I say that, I'll have to move it here in a minute. Shouldn't have to. But now we are down to, we've got our red. That's our engineer's side. Tuck those out of the way. I should have, yeah, there'll be enough room to run up the side there. Get that out of the way. We'll cut this red wire off. Let me strip this. Let's see. Strip that there. Cut this red pickup off, yeah, right there. Strip that, and then wrap this. Well, try to wrap that. Actually, let's flux that and tin those. We'll get that hooked up. Okay, there's that. Let me get that. There is not a lot of room in this thing under this long hood. Okay, so there's that hooked to the red, hooked to that side. Now I'll take and put a piece of heat shrink. I should have had it, I must have knocked it off. So a piece of heat shrink. That on there. There's that. Now I can strip the rest of this wire. And I didn't get it. Oh, I know why. There we go. So we'll have that. I'll get another piece of, well, evidently I don't have any black wire laid out yet. I could cut a piece of this off of my speaker, because I'm not going to need all of it. Nope. So there's that. Another piece of heat shrink. And this is all just for the engineer side. All right. Now we can go back here. Cut this old wire. Cut it off a little bit. Now, another piece of heat shrink. And I'll cut that and put it on there before I put the flux on that. Turn that around. So now we've got our engineer's side hooked up. And now I'll put all these wires over here on this side, and we'll go ahead and do the fireman's side. And it'll be the black wire. So I'm going to do it the same way. Strip that off there. Cut that. And then strip that off. Then we'll be ready to put some flux on there and tin them up. That's that. The tip clean. Now I can get these put together. If I could get them to touch. There we go. Okay. Now before I put my heat shrink on this side, I'm going to strip this off. Yeah, I won't be able to, I thought I'd be able to use one piece, but that's a little longer than the last one. So, piece of heat shrink. And I just want to keep everything as tight as possible to get to have as, I don't want a lot of things sticking out, let's say. So there is not much room. So this isn't an impossible install, but it is a tight one. So there's that. Another piece of heat shrink. Okay. There's that. There's that. Them stripped off. And this will be, other than the sound, we'll be ready to test. And I've got this one set up to run long hood forward. There's that. Drop a piece of heat shrink on that. think I lose just about as much heat shrink as I use. Flying off into space. Okay, that's that. And I do have some tape on this side that I can use to put that down with. I think I will get just a drop of glue. Well, before I put any glue on that to hold them wires down, I do want to hook up my speaker. So really doesn't matter which way is which here, but I will come up out of that side because I do have plenty of room. Same way with my other wire. Now I can strip those off. One. I'm just going to cut it off the, well, don't need it the same length. Cut it a touch shorter. All right. Now we're ready for some flux. More heat shrink. And I have to cut off a piece. need 2 pieces. And I probably could have left these wires long enough and soldered them right to the leads, but I didn't. Now I need to, let's see, take my long one. So there's that one. And there's that one. Sometimes the heat shrink's the hardest part of the job. All right. So now, the way it sits, we should have a model that will run. I'm going to try my long hood here. My wires are hitting something back on the board. That's what it's sitting on. Now, I know what it is. It's this piece of heat shrink right here needs to sit down right in there. And I've still got it up above. But anyway, I'm going to try this thing, so I'll be back. Okay, we're back, and we're going to move our chassis out of the way. I've pulled over the cab here, And I guess it's time to install some lights in this long hood and in the cab. But I'm only going to put 2 lights in it. One for the headlight. You can see that light tube right there. And then we'll have one for the cab light right there in the center. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to go with my 402s, and what I want to try to do is either we'll try to glue that bulb right to that clear lens down in there. So to do that, we'll slide the cab glass down. I could probably get that out, but there's the 2 clips right here on the sides that hold this to the chassis. So I'm just going to try, and well, actually maybe the best way to do this would be to push it out, if it will come out. Slides right out. So I've got my lens right there, and I've got my light right here, if I can get it picked up. So I'm just going to try and take and glue that right to the bulb. And actually, that's a pretty tight fit in there. So pick this up. And I think I'm gonna take and, like I always do, straighten these wires out. Put them running parallel to the light. Just like that. And then that way I can put that right down on that lens. So now doing that, there might be enough room to slide everything back in around that. That is awfully tight. Shoo. So I guess I could take and drill a hole right here in the glass. Yeah, let me do that. I'll drill a hole where that lens goes. And then we can run the wire right through the cab glass and down. We'll put it right behind this center mullion here. And that'll keep everything up out of the way. All right. So let's, I don't want to break the horn off of that. So let's see what I've got here. It's a nice small drill bit. So we can thread this through. Can try to get that threaded through and get one side at a time, maybe. Okay. So now you can see we've got our light. And I may have to take and drill that lens out a little bit. Oh, there I did it. Alright, I had dropped it, but I found it. So now, alright, I don't need to do anything else to that. Now you can kind of see that there, but let me get out my smart tweezers here and we'll see what this thing looks like. Okay, that will work out nicely for that rear light. Now I can just get it up in there. And let's see, what do I want to use? We'll try and stick a piece of Kapton tape up in there to keep those wires together. Oh, and I've already taken and I've loaded the sound into this. I just did that before I started with the lights here. Be nice if I could get my big fingers down in there. So I think that'll be, got that piece of tape across there. So that'll give us what we need to get our wires out of the way. Yeah, can't see that from the side. Of course, I've got them. That'll work right there for the front too. So get that in, make sure our bulb's in. All right, now we just need to get one attached to the front here, and I think the way I'll do this one up here is drill a hole in the light tube and then just put the bulb right in it. I don't know if I can fiddle. It doesn't look like it's going to push out. Oh, wait a minute. There it goes. Okay. So I've got that pushed out. And I just need to, I want to drill a small hole in that. I'm going to drill a little bigger hole than the one I had there. I believe this is a 16th inch bit. And I really just need to make a little concave place. Doesn't have to go very deep. I just want it to be able to sit down in there. Okay, that will be deep enough. And I'll straighten my wires out. That'll sit nicely right in there. So now I'll just glue that in, get my little helping hand here. And I'll get a second pair. To hold the wire in place. Okay, so I've got them put together. Now all I got to do is put a drop of glue in, and actually I'll put the drop of glue in and then set it right down in. Okay, that's just got to dry. And now I don't know, because there was one light bulb that lit up the number boards and the headlights, or the headlight. I don't know if that will be the case now. Once this sets up, then I'll try it, and we'll go from there. Okay, we've come back, and our light is dry, so we're ready to put this back in the shell. I'm debating, and I'm not too worried about the number boards being lit up, so I think what I'll do, and I'm going to do it while it's in place. Let me get this out of the way. I'll put this all back in, and then I'll paint around that. I'll paint it black. So I think that'll be the best thing to do here. So let me shove these through. Goes right in. Can't see anything there. Let's I'll test this out here for you. If I can get a hold of my wires. Yep. Where did it go? And I know that flashes, but this is set to flash my tweezers. And I mean, there's no bleed through. It is a little bright on the number boards, so I don't think I could do anything with that. Because it was bright enough to where you couldn't even read the number boards. So I don't know. I think I'll leave it there. And yeah, I'll just leave it that way. There'll be some kind of a number board. A little bit of a different effect. And the owner will, well, I'll show it to him before I give it to him. And if he doesn't like it, then I'll paint the tube. Of course, it's easy enough. I can take and put a piece of heat shrink around it. I wonder, let me take a piece of heat shrink, put over top of that. Maybe there'll be enough light bleed back through the back of it, that that it'll dim the number boards down. Let's see, how big a piece do I need? Maybe that'll give it a good effect. So, nothing like trying some different things. Because you never know what might work. Hopefully I got the right size piece of. Yeah. That right there. It's just a little too small. Let me take that off. I'll grab my next size that I have. Let's go with that. There we go. All right. Now, I'm not going to be able to stand it up when it's in this time. But you should be able to see, if I can get my wire. Nope. That blocks every bit of that light out. You can see I completely blocked that light tube off. Well, let's do this. Let me cut it just a little bit shorter. And that'll give me some light, maybe shining through. I think I'm going to be right back to the starting position. Okay, we'll do this off camera. Okay, we're back here, and I did get a piece of heat shrink, and I'm putting that heat shrink on there. That'll block a lot of the light, so I'm only getting this little bit left back here, and that will be enough to shine through the number boards. So it did work out better. I've just got to take my soldering iron and melt that heat shrink just a little bit, enough so it'll stay. Okay, so there is that. And there's no bleed through on my lights that I could see, so I'm going to go with it right there. And now all we have to do is make some final connections here. And I did go ahead and load a sound onto the board. That way I'd just have it in there. And I haven't wired up the Keep Alive yet, because I want to get this thing together. I know it'll fit in here. I'm going to put it back here. But I need to find where I need to wire my Keep Alive to. So anyway, I'm going to wire this up right now, make sure that my lights and everything work, and I'm going to go ahead and I think cut these down, especially my, let's see, my forward is my white wire. I'm going to cut it off back in here, and I can go ahead and move some of this stuff around. Strip this off. And I want to take and I want to cut about, oh, I don't know, 4 inches off of that. So let me move this out of the way. Get my other strippers here. So there's that one. There's that one. So I need to flux everything and tin it up. So there's my flux one, or tin on that. Do the one here on the board, and I do have this loose. I pulled the tape back off of it. So there's my white. And I'll need a piece of heat shrink. I'll need a couple of pieces of heat shrink. And slide that on. And that's in the perfect place. I can just take and hold it. Get my wire on. So there is that connection. Now if I can get my so there's my heat shrink. Okay. Now my rear light, I need to I'll be able to put this on separately, I think. Okay, so what I want to do, I am going to set the keep alive in here. That way I won't have to remove the shell again. Because right now, at this moment, while I'm wiring it up, I am unsure of where I need to hook it. I need to get out the manual and look at it. But I am going to clean that. And I'll clean the keep alive off. Get them both dry. Then I'll get me a small piece of double-sided tape. Find my tweezers in this mess. Okay, and we'll cut that down. Put that right on top of that gear tower, just like that. I'll have those two connections. There's my cab. So far we're looking good. I'm going to cut my yellow lead back to there. We'll strip that off. And now my black wire. I can go ahead and strip it. Get a piece of heat shrink before I do anything, so I won't have to remember it. There it is. And now I'll go ahead and put some flux on those two. Clean that off. So there's that. Put my heat shrink on. Now trying to turn this in a way that I'll be out of my own way. And I'm going to clip that off just a little bit. I don't like that connection. Just for that reason right there, it fell off. Now I can't. Okay. There's that. There's the heat shrink. Okay, so we've got both lights hooked up. Now all we got to do is hook up our blue wire. I can cut this red one off. Take this off of the stand. Okay. trim that off. The other one I already have trimmed and tinned. Trim this blue one. This will give me enough room to get everything in. All right, there's that. Some flux on that. Flux there. Tip clean. It'll flux or tin my red. Now I'll be able to join it to this one. Since they've already been tinned, would join them together. Get me another piece of heat shrink. There's that. I want this to come in from the back like that. Okay. Now for our final light connection, if I can get it twisted around the way I want it. There we go. Now I just got to get my heat shrink on. Must have a little burr sticking there. It went. All right. So there's my lighting. And I may have jumped the gun. I never looked to see if this board has resistors on it. If it doesn't have any resistors, I'm going to blow both of those lights just as soon as I turn them on. So, I'll be back. Alright, well, I'm glad I looked before I made a mistake, and I don't want to tell you wrong. So, these do need resistors in them, because these boards don't have resistors on them. So now, we are in the position of, I need to remove off of the, I'm going to call it the negative side. We'll put resistors on our negative side, and I need to get another one out. I only got one. I'm going to put 1,000 ohm resistors on each one of these lighting functions. And wouldn't you know it, my heat shrink just paused. There it went. I got it. Okay. So, let me move this out of the way. And we'll get these ready to go. Get them tinned up. You should always check the manual. Whatever board you're working on. Now I need to prepare this all again. We'll cut that little piece off. Okay. Now I need more heat shrink. And I looked in the wrong one. Yeah. Well, actually. A little on the small side for that. Or on the small side for the resistor, big side for the wire. So let me put that away. And I'll get a more suitable piece. this over a little bit. Yeah. So there's that side. Now we'll cut another piece of heat shrink. Go back to our yellow. At least it's a little easier to hold. There's that. There's that. And actually the other thing I got to do with the keep alive there, ESU recommends a 100 ohm resistor on the positive side of that. And I don't have any of those in right yet. So, see, really the reason I'm waiting on that. Okay, there's that one. I've got enough on both sides of that. I won't have to cut and re-tin either one of those. But I will cut me some heat shrink and we'll get it on both of those. That way I won't forget them. There's that. Cut my leads off the resistors. And so this is the thing, you know, I miss these resistors. Luckily I went and looked it up before I put the power to it. But it's easy to do. I've done a lot of these, but I don't remember. I can't remember every one that I've ever done. So I guess really what I'm saying is you should always look at the instructions. Now I'm going to have to move mine. Always look at the instructions. Because I can tell you, I'd rather cut a wire loose and put a resistor in than change a bulb out sometimes, especially the way I do some of my bulbs. So there's that. And I've got my heat shrink on that already. Grab my tweezers. There's that. Move that up into place. Get our heat shrink on. All right. So now all we've got left is our Keep Alive. So now I just need to get everything together. And I want to keep this as tight as possible because there is a limited amount of space in this thing. But what I am going to do is try it out before I do anything else, just to make sure that the lights still work. So I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit. I've got my 100 ohm resistor for the Keep Alive, and it's going to go on the positive wire of this Keep Alive. So now, saying that, I'm going to zoom in here real tight. As tight as I can, anyway. Maybe I can get this lit a little better. But what we got to do, and I'm glad I had to take this up, but what we got to do is flip this over, and I'm going to have to remove the plastic coating here because I can't get in because there are 3 tabs, and you can see them right here on this decoder, and actually those are the wrong tabs. I need to be on this side of the decoder. There are 3 tabs, and that's where our Keep Alive hooks up to. So this one here is the this is the positive one, and this is the negative one. And it shows you this in the manual. So I'm gonna have to cut this heat shrink off. So this is just a pair of shears. So that's that. And then I should be able to fold this up. Yep. And I'm just going to cut that completely off because I don't want that in there. So now we've got that exposed, and I'm going to pull these 2 extra function wires off that I'd cut off in the beginning. I'm going to take them completely off of the board. That way I won't have to worry about anything shorting. So let me just do that while I've got it here real quick. Get my tweezers so I can get a hold of that. There's that one. And there's that one. Just a quick touch. All that takes. So we've got those functions off of there. And now that unplugs. So I'm going to unplug it. And that's all that is. That's how tiny that board is. So let me go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and trim this up a little bit. Make it look a little better. I mean, nobody's going to see this thing, but I need to. It's going to be these 3 over here, and it shows you this in the instructions. So we're looking at this side and these 3. Yeah. This side of the board, these 3. So let me get this cut off. Okay, so that is tiny, tiny, tiny. These are inch squares right here. So let me put this over here. You can see that that thing is a 1/2 inch wide. It's a 1/2 inch wide. And it's just a little over 3/4 inch long. So these tabs are about 3/32, give or take. So I am going to, with our positive wire, I'm going to cut this. And I want a piece big enough to where I can run into the back or run somewhere. So let me cut that off about right there. And then I'll strip that off. And I've got to, we'll zoom back out here for a second. Okay. I'll go ahead and flux that. Now, my black wire for my ground is this far corner up here. And this thing sets right up here. So I want to cut that off. I'm going to give myself a little bit of room, but we'll cut that one off there. So I'll strip my wire. And I can flux it and tin it. that's that one. Now this piece of wire here, this blue piece, I am going to connect it to the resistor. So let me get it ready here to hook to my resistor. So there's that. Now I've got to get the resistor. This is a 100 ohm resistor. Got that. And that. I'm looking at the manual here. And I don't know. But here's what I'm looking at. Look at this on my phone. So you can zoom in on that. Pause it there and read it. But I want to look at this a minute. Okay, so I looked at that again, and I need a diode in that too, and I've got one here. And this, I cut this off of another board, so I'm going to go ahead and solder this to it, the wire to that, and then I'll get the resistor and put on there. So let me turn this around here so I can. So there's that. I want to trim that off some. Basically, these diodes let the current come out, and it limits it going in that way. It's going to go through that resistor. That way it won't see this as a short when we hook it up, if that made sense. I need to get another resistor out here. And if you get an ESU power pack, they're made up like this. That's why I really like to use the same components from the same manufacturer. But in this case, they don't make one that is small enough. So we'll have this little shape here. Let me go ahead and form the other side. So that's the shape I'm going for, give or take. That way I can go around everything. Go ahead and cut these off. So that'll sit on this. I'm going to flux this up and tin it. So there's that. And I really need to flux this other one and tin it too on the other side of this diode. It already had some on it. Been around there. Okay. Now I'm going to take my wire from the other side. Let's get this thing all trimmed up. I'm putting some flux on that wire. I know you can't see that, but I'll get it here in a second. Pull it in the frame. Okay, so there's that. Now we can come down here. And I'm going to hit that again right there, because I don't like. There we go. All right. So now we've got that. I'll have to put a big piece of heat shrink around that. Let me get that out. That's a piece of 1/4 inch. I think that's too big. Okay. And now I'll put a small piece of heat shrink on this. That way everything is covered. Yep, I don't like that one. I need a piece of my red. I guess I shouldn't have shrunk that all up right at one time. Well, I'm just going to have to put some liquid black tape on that when I get ready for that. Or let me do this. Just cut another piece. There we go. Now once we go to tuck this thing in, get it all buttoned up, we may have some clearance issues. Hoping not to, but I think I can tuck all that wire back into the cab. So now we're going to go back and move back to the board. I'm going to go right here, and I'll zoom in on this again. This tab here is our positive side. So let me get a little bit of there. I flux both of those. I want that right in there someplace. I'm looking. Okay, there we go. Get this tip cleaned off. And now, let me pull that back some. Okay, I've got them both tinned. Now, there's that one. And now, for the other side. All right, now before I move on, I'm going to pull my magnifier down here and look at this. Okay, I looked at it and it is on there. It's on there very well. I think I've got a little piece of, just little bits there sticking up. I'm going to cut it off. Okay, so now, I can plug this back in, and that is all right. We are plugged back in. Get that black wire out of my way. I want to try this out here really before I go any farther. I'm going to hook the lights back up. I had to unhook all that to be able to get to the board. So let me go ahead and put me a small piece of heat shrink down here. I believe, yeah, I had to cut that off. I'm going to flux and tin that again. Zoom out here. Pull this over this way. So really, I've really taken a lot of this back apart. I mean, what I've shown is correct. But I just want to get it all hooked up so my forward light is my white one. What did I do with my heat shrink? That piece is too small. Come on. So this has taken a lot of different techniques. This install isn't a beginner install, I will say that. Okay. So there's my front hooked back up. We'll swing around. I want to tin this again. That, put my heat shrink on here. Okay. All right, so now it's all hooked up, and I'm going to have to put some Kapton tape around that, but before I do, I am going to try all that, so I will be back. All right, you can see we've got this thing back together, got everything all put in it, and got all of our resistors in. I've tested it and it does work. The keep alive gives me about 4 seconds, so that ought to be plenty, and that's at full speed and with the light on and the sound. So let's go ahead and we'll fire this thing up. We've got it going, ramping up there through the speed steps. And it does sound pretty good. Like I say, the microphone really doesn't do these speakers justice. JT does a good job on these. Easy to install. So you can see there, let me turn that headlight back off. If you'll look at that number board up in the, on the left hand side there, when I turn the headlight on, remember I left the heat shrink back a little bit, and I also took and I painted the bottom of that light tube, so that kind of calms it down some. But you can see there as I turn that on and off. And let me pull it around here, and you can see There you can see the headlight. So I'm gonna start ramping that down, and I'll turn it around here to the back. But now it's at an idle. Of course, I upgraded the couplers to KDs and changed the direction here. So, start ramping up again. But that's it in a nutshell. But if you do want to do one of these old Atlas ones, they are tight. I mean, everything in them is tight. So you've got to watch your clearances. You've got to watch everything on these things. This is, like I said, I think I said it before, this is not a beginner locomotive to do. If you take your time, you can do it. But yeah, I mean, it is a nice project. So I'm going to ramp that down. And there, I put it back in the forward position. But yeah. Alright, we're going to call this one complete. So thanks for watching.